everything's just brand new from this point. Now, 20 years finally done. That era's over with. We're starting to look into the front windshield of what the future looks like. So, to joining me, Colby Cochran of the Patriots Global, joining us here on the show. Tell you what, man, that looked like a much better, a much more refined game from Drake Maye there last night. How would you describe that? And then what are the kind of the takeaways you got from the game last night?
Yeah, I mean, like you said earlier, Drake Maye looking day and night compared to, I think, what we saw even a week prior. To me personally, I thought that it was a little brought up by the media in a much more dramatic way than I think it needed to be from week 1 to week 2, because you look at week 1, he got a single drive, right? I think he played like a total of 6 snaps in that game. Like 2 of those were a run play. He really didn't get the opportunity to show his arm off much. Then later on in that game, like the fourth quarter, going up against a much different defense than what Drake Maye was going up against the Carolina Panthers, obviously shows out, obviously looks really well. And then everybody's talking about Joe Milton instead of Drake Maye. Is this a real thing? It's like, no, you have to understand the different circumstances. And that's what sucks. It's because Patriots fans came to that game against the Panthers week 1, wanting to see Drake Maye, the 3rd overall pick, the investment, what this team is going to be building their future around ideally, because you're hoping that for at minimum, the next 10 years, Drake Maye is going to be the franchise quarterback for this team, and he needs those live game reps. They can give him as many snaps as they want in joint practices, in training camp, in OTAs, in mini camp, but it doesn't matter if he's getting live game reps against a team that is not his own. But, I thought giving him a significantly increased opportunity against the Philadelphia Eagles last night is exactly what we wanted to see. And really, I thought that he was everything that was advertised, right? He had the arm strength, which we never saw from Mac Jones. We saw the mobility. We saw his ability to dance around the pocket and extend plays, and especially saw that accuracy down the field. Again, I feel that what we have seen from Drake Maye has been everything that has been advertised coming in and out of the draft. And I said this on my channel last week, and I got some hate for it. I said it on Bleacher Report. I got some hate for it, but I really do believe that. And I'm not just talking about the good, but I'm also talking about the bad of Drake Maye. All of the things that were advertised, both good and bad, is everything that we have seen. I just talked about the good, but the bad is the inconsistencies. Drake Maye with his short to intermediate passing, it's going to be inconsistent. The accuracy, more specifically there, it's going to be more inconsistent. Specifically last night, we saw that. We saw even on his first pass, Kayshon Boutte was a little high. Boutte goes up in the air. He makes a spectacular one-handed grab. Drake Maye had a couple of those passes. But when it mattered the most, when he was going deep, that's when he was pinpoint accurate. And unfortunately, nobody's going to talk about just how accurate Drake Maye was last night, and especially in the deeper part of the field, because those plays didn't amount to anything, not because of Drake Maye, but unfortunately because of rookie wide receiver Javon Baker, who on his first route, Drake Maye going down to him deep down the sideline, Javon Baker, terrible situational awareness, doesn't know where he is on the field to realize that he's out of bounds. He can make the catch all he wants. He's out of bounds. It's not going to matter. By the time he finally realizes he's out of bounds, the ball's in his hands and he just drops and says, I'm out of bounds. It doesn't matter. The second time, another beautifully thrown deep ball by Drake Maye. Later on in the game, Javon Baker, perfectly placed in his hands, has the opportunity to make that type of play. That's why the Patriots drafted him. Unfortunately, can't come up with the play. And like I said, everything's been advertised with Drake Maye, both the good and the bad, but I would say it's been the exact same thing for these Patriots rookie wide receivers too. Javon Baker, coming out of the draft, was a 50-50 contested catch guy who could get down the field, who was going to be a motivator because of how he had that chip on his shoulder because he was drafted later than he was projected to, but he had an issue with drops. In college, during 2023, he had over a 10% drop rate. And for me, once it hits that 10% rate, that's where I start to get a little bit concerned with receivers. Very, very inconsistent hands, but he can get open deep. He can make those spectacular catches. It's just all down to the consistency. Exactly what we saw from Javon Baker. Then with Jalen Polk, again, I think we also saw what was advertised. A guy that is going to be reliable. He's going to show the ability after the catch. But is he ever truly going to be a high-end, deep threat wide receiver one? Probably not. So coming out of last night, I'm happy with where these rookies are trending. But more specifically, like you said, Drake Maye. I mean, finishing the day 6 for 11, 47 yards, 7.8 yards on average. If J-Bomb Baker comes up with those 2 throws, I mean, Drake Maye is going for over 100 yards, over a 50% completion rate. Drake Maye was also 3rd for the Patriots last night in rushing yards, 4 attempts, 15 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. It's just really, really nice to see a quarterback here in New England that adapts well to what really quarterbacks need to do in today's generation of the NFL. And there's people who have tried to compare, not Cam Newton, but rather Mac Jones and Drake Maye. And there's no comparisons whatsoever. I mean, Mac Jones could throw off his back foot. And you might remember this game. Mac Jones throwing off his back foot last season against the Colts in Germany. Mike Gesicki wide open in the end zone. Opportunity to win the game. Walk off, win the game. What does he do? Mac Jones throws off his back foot, doesn't have the arm strength to make that play, can't hit a wide open Mike Gesicki, hits the defender square in his chest, interception, Patriots lose that game. Very different than what we're seeing from Drake Maye. Drake Maye throws off his back foot and he can launch the ball easily 50 yards down the field with an accurate throw. And the Patriots also having a quarterback who they can use design runs with, I think is going to open up this offense significantly because, as I'm sure you know, quarterbacks in today's generation, we rarely see pure pocket passing quarterbacks, which is also part of the reason Mac Jones just didn't work out all that well. It's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons he didn't work out in the NFL. And because of the lack of a consistent offensive line in New England, they're going to need a quarterback that can bounce around the pocket, extend the plays. And something that you hit on, I think, perfectly not too long ago, too, is the quarterback that he looked like the most last night was a quarterback that he was compared to going in and heading out of the draft, and that was Justin Herbert. He had some Josh Allen comparisons too, but I would say the quarterback that he's looked most like is Justin Herbert, and if the Patriots can get themselves a Justin Herbert and just adequately build around him, something the Chargers have not been able to do with Justin Herbert, the Patriots' future is bright.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny about it because I had a good friend of mine who breaks down college quarterbacks, right? And the film he gave me that I had a bit of worry on was, and hopefully this can get fixed in the NFL, but the film on it was there was a play that Drake Maye was on, and the left tackle, the defender got past, and then all of a sudden Drake Maye held on to the football for too long. That's kind of the worry of it, is that I feel like there's a part of it, you got to make quick decisions like this. And and it's important for every team to have a solidified left tackle. You don't have that, then that's where a lot of times the quarterback has no time in the pocket. You got to end up getting that ball out as quick. That was kind of a knock on Drake Maye I had, was just the quick decision making, because you can't hold on that ball for very long. And then, of course, it's unfortunate because the fact of like the weapons he has, this is the cards he's dealt. So he's got to make it work any way that he can. So, thinking about this with the Patriots, because these wide receivers, it has been a position that they have not been able to trend in the right direction for years. This is why they've gone out and they've traded for veterans. They've gone and signed for veterans. It's kind of hard because here's the thing. I've got friends of mine that live up in Boston. It's hard to end up, playing in that cold weather where it's just like, but it's a weather that toughens you up, but it's not huge for free agent friendly destinations when you got like a Tyreek Hill in Miami. You got, a Stephon Diggs in Houston. So with what the receiving core right now, with what they're working with, I mean, this has to be where guys really got to end up stepping up. I mean, there was a time where Jacoby Myers was the top guy, and then once you lose that, you're back to square one, and you got to build these guys up right.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think the reason that players don't want to be here right now, I mean, you even look at a week ago, 2 weeks ago at this point, New England Patriots trying to actively acquire themselves a wide receiver one, most recently doing it with 49ers Brandon Ayuk, and it doesn't work out. Why? It wasn't because of the money. The Patriots right now, after trading Matthew Judon the other day, they have $50 million in cap space right now. You know how many teams didn't even start the offseason, didn't start free agency with $50 million? We're about to start the regular season, and they're sitting on that much money. It's absolutely wild. They had the money. They have the money still to go out and give a wide receiver one top end money. At this point, they're trending towards the direction where they could pay 2 wide receiver ones top money. They offered Brandon Ayuk a 4-year, $32 million a year deal, and he turned it down. That would have tied him for the second highest paid wide receiver in the league, only tied with Eagles' A.J. Brown. The reason he turned it down, supposedly, is because of the quarterback situation, right? A lot of unknowns, not knowing what quarterback's even going to start week 1, let alone what the future is going to look like, because you don't know what obviously Drake Maye is going to be. Drake Maye could be Josh Allen. He could be Justin Herbert. He could easily be a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League, or he could end up being a complete bust and being in the same situation that Mac Jones is in. We just don't know. And something that you kind of alluded to earlier, I think was perfectly correct. Right now with Drake Maye, the mental processing, I mean, it's not there, and it never really was. He was always carried in college by his physical gifts, that physical ability, and that's what we're seeing here right now. That's why even in training camp, struggling a little bit. That's why there's question marks on who's going to start week 1, because Drake Maye is not 100% there from the mental side. And that's, again, what separates Mac Jones from Drake Maye. When Mac Jones was drafted, he didn't have the physical talent, but he was so brilliant. He had a high IQ. He was going to be a game manager. He knew where to place the ball. With Drake Maye, that's just a little bit different. He has all the physical tools in the world, the God-given gifts that you just absolutely cannot teach. You either have it or you don't. But right now, as he transitions to the NFL, he's working in a new offensive scheme. Everything is moving so damn fast for him, especially with new wide receivers, no true wide receiver one, no true number one target. A really, really bad offensive line, especially in terms of path protection. Right now, things just need to slow down for Drake Maye. And I think we're starting to see that, but not to the ability where we want it to be just yet, which is completely understandable. I mean, we're not even week 1 into his rookie season yet. But I think once things start to slow down for him mentally, he starts to get more comfortable. That's when his physical gifts can kind of just come out and we can finally see Drake Maye take over for the Patriots. But kind of going back to what I was saying before, nobody's going to want to play here until the Patriots make it an intriguing place to play. And I think the biggest way to make this an intriguing place to play is by hitting on the quarterback position. That's why the New England Patriots, they had to get rid of Mac Jones, and they had to select a quarterback with that 3rd overall pick. They shouldn't trade down. They shouldn't wait another year. They shouldn't wait till the situation is perfect to draft the rookie quarterback. No. If you have the opportunity to get your franchise quarterback, you do it. Because whether you're a 0-win team, a 3-win team, an 8-win team, whether you're making the playoffs, as long as you hit on the quarterback position, free agents are going to want to come here. They don't care if it's a destination that isn't currently a playoff destination or a true contender. Players are perfectly fine being an underdog and being a part of the upcoming story. They just want to make sure that they have a true leader under center that is going to be able to adequately and consistently actually take them to the promised land.
I absolutely agree, and once, you hit the nail on the head on that one. When a franchise quarterback, when you find it, because it's a very big rarity, when you get, I mean, again, it's a rare kind of thing, because when you get a Mahomes, when you get an Allen, you get a Burrow or a Herbert, it makes everything else simplified, and so this is what's interesting. And it was actually kind of brought up that I listened to. So, outside of the negativity, what's been happening with, at least up in camp, with as far as results, this was a thought. It seems to me like, with how I projected New England, this is where I think this team's going to finish last. But respectfully, it's because you're trying to now kind of get rid of the old, start to bring in the new, slow build, slow cook. But I do feel like that the Patriots could land the number 1 overall pick. Now, here's where I feel like this is their advantage, is because the one big draft, the quarterback prospect that's going to be coming out of college is Carson Beck. And here's the thing about that. Look at some of these teams that could potentially need a quarterback. The Raiders, the Giants, several other teams that could potentially move off the quarterbacks. I mean, hell, even when you look at Dallas Cowboys with the Dak Prescott situation, this could be added leverage for New England, that they could potentially trade that pick, get an overhaul, get some capital, and get players in the middle of it. Because when you get a top prospect like that, that could help two sides of the organization. How do you kind of best explain that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you also started to explain that one perfectly. And Patriots fans kind of freaking out. They're like, we need to have a CJ Stroud, Houston Texans like season. And I'm like, no, we don't. And I understand that it just happened and everybody wants to see it happen again. But that's like saying, oh my gosh, Tom Brady was a 6th-round quarterback and now he's a franchise guy. We need to start taking quarterbacks in the 6th round because then we'll get Tom Brady. That's not what that means. I mean, it's a situation that rarely ever happens. I doubt the New England Patriots are going to end up being in the exact situation the Houston Texans were like, which was historical, and literally do it just a year later. It's not going to happen. To me, the blueprint for the Patriots is not the Houston Texans. The blueprint for me is the Detroit Lions. And the Detroit Lions in that first year with the new head coach, they ended up being a 3-win team. They went from being a 3-win team to a 9-win team, just missing the playoffs. And then last year being a 12-win team, and they were tied for like the 2nd or 3rd best record in the entire National Football League. As a Patriots fan, what I'm telling Patriots fans, what we want to see is development, progression, and that in 2025, we can start being competitive. We can hit the ground running. Not only could the Patriots have a top draft pick in this upcoming 2025 draft, but they also, well, they were 2nd in cap space. They're expected to be 2nd in cap space in free agency next year. But with all the money that's going to roll over, they very well might have the most cap space in the NFL in free agency for 2025. And keep in mind, too, something the Patriots have done, they didn't really bring in necessarily a lot of new free agents this offseason, but they retained their young core developmental guys who are in their prime. Not just that, but guys that are free agents next year, their core guys that are free agents next year, they already brought back. So the Patriots really are hitting the ground running for the 2025 offseason. Like, they're really not all that worried about this upcoming season. Like, if they win games, that's great, but they're not expecting to win games. They know the situation they're in. They know it's going to take a couple of years. So by re-signing these core players, your Christian Barmore, Ramondre Stevenson, Jelani Tavai, Jabril Peppers, your Michael Onwenu's, by extending those guys now, in 2025, they don't have to worry about people taking their pieces and having to kind of readjust this roster and readjusting their plans or, having to focus on bringing back their own players. They can immediately hit the ground running with the 2nd or even most cap space in the NFL and start bringing in external free agents to start improving this team. And me personally, I don't think the Patriots are going to be as bad as they have the number 1 overall pick. If they do, that whatever. I don't care. That's perfectly fine because of the value, of course, like you said, that's going to have. But they're easily guaranteed a top 10 draft pick in the 2025 draft. And the way that they're trending after trading Matthew Judon, they honestly might be guaranteed a pick in the top 5 at this point too. So me personally, what I would do, you have a top 5 pick, I'm trading down. Even if I have a top 10 pick, what I'm doing is I'm trading down. Yep. The way that the Patriots general manager, Elliott Wolf, likes to operate is the way that Ron Wolf, his dad, used to operate when he was the general manager with the Packers and kind of took the Packers on the historical run, winning Super Bowls, whatever. They built that team up through the draft. They didn't build it through free agency. Right. And so that's why the Patriots are going to build this new generation of the New England Patriots through the draft, through these young players, develop their own guys, and then take care of their own guys when that contract ultimately comes up. And one of the best ways that Elliott Wolf hit on this in this past draft was saying the way that you hit on more players in the draft is by having more opportunities in the draft. Right now, the Patriots in 2025 slated to have a 1st-round pick, 2nd-round pick, 2 3rd-round picks, a 4th, a 5th, no 6th, but 3 7ths. What they can do by trading down from a top 5 or top 10 draft pick is they can trade down, still select an offensive tackle, which easily has to be the biggest priority for them with that 1st-round pick in this upcoming draft, and then even acquire themselves a future 1st-round pick, a 2nd and a 3rd-round pick. And now the Patriots are really starting to cook with gas with the high draft picks that they have because they already have 4 picks already in the top 100 for 2025 and all the cap space they have. As long as you hit on the quarterback position, like we've been saying, Jake, there is a lot of potential here with the Patriots.
Absolutely. And what's funny about it is because, next year's draft is an overhaul of defensive players and something that when I touched upon it with the Matt Judon trade, like I touched upon it with the Atlanta Falcons, I am seeing Terry Fontenot's plan really start to come into fruition. And the fact that he gets Judon and then now he gets the Justin Simmons, that Michael Penix pick doesn't even seem that bad like initially. So now they, and then they could go get a young edge rusher. And the same thing that could happen with the Patriots. They could go get a young edge rusher or somewhere in the middle of that defense. So talking about that with Matt Judon now being traded and traded for a 3rd-round pick. This just means, because I'm looking at guys like Josh Uche and multiple others on that defensive front, there's going to be a lot of work from there. But you are getting Christian Gonzalez back. Jabril Peppers, I really have liked. How do you really outlook this defense? Because I just see this as next man up mentality and opportunities to really show what they're really made of.
Yeah, I thought that the Patriots, before Matthew Judon was traded, before Christian Barmore goes down with blood clots, no idea what that situation is going to be, holding for Christian Barmore. Could be out the entire season, could be out for a few weeks to start the season. Right now, we literally have no idea, and that's their 2 best pass rushers. Unfortunately for the Patriots, too, when they lost Matthew Judon during the season last year after week 4, their pass rush was virtually non-existent. Now, obviously, you understand why they trade Judon, and I hate that they traded him. Fan favorite. I think he has good football left in him. In training camp, we were seeing he had good football left in him. I think he has another 2-3 years max left in him to have good football. But the way the Patriots, I think, are seeing it is he going to be a part of this team when we're actually contending, when we're trying to win playoff games, when we're actually in the Super Bowl? Probably not. We might as well flip him for a pick, see if we can get a player in the 3rd round with that 3rd round pick that they got, and have him be a part of this rebuild, have him be a part of this future for the next 10 plus years. And I think that's the goal by trading him. Now, DeMarcus Covington, who's been the Patriots defensive line coach for the last few years, he was promoted to being their defensive coordinator this offseason. This is the first time the Patriots have had a defensive coordinator with an official title since, I want to say, Matt Patricia. It has been a long time since they've had that official defensive coordinator title, and something that he kind of let slip out of the cracks, which I know he didn't mean to, but it gave us a look into how the Patriots are going to run their defense, is when he was hired, he actually said that the Patriots' plan defensively is to be more aggressive. And to me, what that screams is a 2018, 2019 version of the Patriots, where, over the last few years, really since 2021, when Matthew Judon was signed in free agency, we saw the pass rush coming from these guys in the trenches, from Matthew Judon, asking your defensive line to pin their ears back and just go ahead and try to put pressure on the quarterback. But I mean, really, you look at 2018, you look at 2019, the Patriots didn't have a star pass rusher on their defensive line. They didn't have a guy that was putting up 10 plus sacks a season. What they had was guys on their defensive line that could just consistently get pressure. And then they asked their linebackers to set the edge. They asked their linebackers to shoot the gap, and they would be the ones to come in and finish off the plays, right? Your Kyle Van Noy's, your Jamie Collins, your Marquise Flowers back in 2017. I think that we could see the Patriots get back to those days of a defense, and that's why they felt so comfortable shipping off somebody like Matthew Judon. A guy to watch is actually 2nd-year player Keion White. And everybody's saying, Keion White, is he going to replace Matthew Judon? No. There's no player on this roster that's going to replace Matthew Judon. If there was, we would have saw it last year when Matthew Judon went down. To me, what Keion White could be for the Patriots is Trey Flowers from that historic 2016 to 2018 run. If you remember, he was a guy that never eclipsed 10 plus sacks for the Patriots, but he would consistently get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sacks a season, but was always their best pass rusher. He was always in the backfield. He was always getting pressure on the quarterbacks. That's what the Patriots need, right? The most important part of your defensive line, the most important part to your pass rushers is not getting sacks. The most important part first is to get the pressure, force the quarterback into making mistakes. And then second is the sacks. If you can get the sacks, obviously you want them. It's a big part to a defense, but the most important part is pressure. And so that's how I see this defensive line shaping up. Deatrich Wise has actually led the Patriots defense in quarterback pressures since 2022. It wasn't Judon. It wasn't Uche. It wasn't Barmore. And I think with the combination of Deatrich Wise on one end and Keion White on the other, they're not going to get, like I said, 12, 15 sacks in a season like Matthew Judon, but they're going to apply the pressure. They're going to be more aggressive defensively. And that's why I think your Sione Takis, your Jawan Bentleys, your Jelani Tavais, those guys are going to have higher sack numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. And even the name to add, especially with that great Patriots defense I used to love watching, is the guy who's at the helm now, Jerrod Mayo. So 2 questions before letting you go. So the one question is, looking at Jerrod Mayo and this new era now with the Patriots, I just look at this and my only two takeaways is what kind of Jerrod Mayo am I going to get as far as in the coaching, segue is he going to be like, in a sense, like what we saw with D'Amico Ryans and even with Antonio Pierce being a players type coach, right? A guy that, is not rigid. He's a guy that's who's much more broad minded, who's about like, I'm here to acclimate to today's NFL because this is what it's trending towards. It's pro offense. Or do I get a coach that is basically under Belichick's shadow, which is one of the things that I'm like, my hope is Jerrod Mayo succeeds because in the end, the Patriots need something because this has been 20 years in the making of it throughout the entirety of the era, and now you've gotten something new. So how do you really explain Jerrod Mayo and really kind of previewing the type of coach he'll be all throughout 2024?
Yeah, obviously a very, very young coach. I mean, before the Seahawks went out and got a new head coach, ended up being the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, Jerrod Mayo was the youngest head coach in the entire National Football League. And I'm perfectly fine with that because we have seen over the last few years now in the NFL, these younger coaches adapting more to the collegiate level. And because of that, they're being more successful. Why? Because of how these guys coming out of college are now playing. They're adapting to these younger coaches a little bit better because they're putting them better in position to succeed rather than saying, hey, you played one way in college. Now that you're transitioning to the NFL, we're going to ask you to play a very, very different way. That's why a lot of players coming out of college, going to like older head coaches and older systems, a lot of times it was kind of like a hit or miss, or they just didn't translate that well to the NFL level because they weren't being asked to play in the same style that they were asked to play at the collegiate level. For me, I'm not expecting Jerrod Mayo to be an X's and O's type of head coach. Bill Belichick, he was an X's and O's type of head coach. I mean, the reason he's out of a job is because he's a terrible general manager. That's the reason. It's not because he's bad at scheming things up. He is the best coach, or was the best coach, I should say, in the NFL from an X's and O's standpoint, being able to scheme things up offensively and, of course, especially defensively. Jerrod Mayo said himself the other month, like, it's not all about the X's and O's. And to me, that states that he's going to be more of a coach like a Dan Campbell, going kind of back to those Detroit Lion type of connections here to where, yeah, he obviously still needs to be able to scheme things up. He has to be an adequate coach, but he just needs to get the players to buy into their philosophy, what they're doing. Get your players to play for the players to their left and to their right. And if they're able to do so, this team is going to be carried not necessarily by talent, but by motivation and by buying into the system. Like you kind of said, being a player's coach. Because right now, the Patriots are just trying to get this back to being a destination where people want to be, where players want to come. And, every team during the offseason gets like their, like a grade on, I forget what those are called, but like a grade basically on like, your franchise and the locker room and the eating and all that stuff. They're report cards, I think what they're calling it. And the Patriots sucked. Like it's really bad. And I think right now they're just trying to get it back to being a place that players want to be at. They want to play, that they want to come here and they actually like being at, because if you're happy, if you like where you are, you like coming to work every single day, that's going to translate on the field. I think with football, we always talk about the physicality type of standpoint, but we don't always talk about the mental and the emotional side of things, which is just as important with football. So for me, it's not the Bill Belichick side of things for Jerrod Mayo, but it's more so the Dan Campbell side of things, and more so being a leader and leading this team rather than being just like a true hard-nosed coach.
Love it, because that's my hope, and that's the one thing with Jerrod Mayo that I hope really does succeed for him in that aspect, because you're like, I agree with that, because especially when I see guys that like, Antonio Pierce, he comes in from his interim and is now the head coach. I mean, when he came in, defenses was giving up 16 points per opponent. And I'm like, these guys are bought into this. So like the more you do it and the more you send that tone, you're the alpha in the room, but you give them something to buy into. I think that's what's most important for most teams. So as America's honesty mind for me, I always bring in a lot of these great minds, that cover a lot of certain teams, because I'm digesting everything until week 1 when that kickoff starts. It's on, man. And so I've previewed this with the AFC East because I've heard a lot of heckles of saying, well, it's the Jets season this year. Now the Dolphins are going to take that. I don't think this is a very cakewalk division that most people think it is, because first of all, it's very, very hard to trump the Buffalo Bills, who had been winning this division for 4 straight years now. And, you look at the Dolphins, and here's the thing. I'm happy Tua got paid, but amongst many paid quarterbacks, even what we saw last year, how can we guarantee he's going to last all season long? I mean,
Exactly.
Burrow went down with an injury. Herbert went down with an injury. And then Jalen Hurts, they were on fire. And then all of a sudden, the massive collapse all the way into the playoffs. Then you got the Jets with this situation with Aaron Rodgers, unexcused absence. Hassan Reddick's not happy. You were supposed to give him a con. So there's a whole mess now. So in your honest opinion from here, previewing the AFC East, how do you see the Patriots really pan out and their record for this 2024 season? Because this ain't no cakewalk in this division, honestly.
No, you know what sucks too, Jake? You know what sucks is that last year the Patriots had the hardest schedule in the NFL, according to strength of the schedule. That's not an opinion. That's just an actual fact. Yep. This year, according to strength of the schedule, it's not that much easier. You know where they rank according to strength of the schedule? They have the second hardest schedule in the NFL. Like this team for the Patriots, they can never catch a break for whatever reason. So look, I like to keep it real. I know I'm a Patriots fan. I know I do this for a living, but it doesn't help anyone being biased and being delusional. The Patriots are at the bottom, right? They're at the bottom until they can prove that they can actually climb their ways up. And anybody putting the Patriots any other place, I should say, than fourth in the AFC East, I don't know how you're doing it, just because there's a lot of questions. It's not to say that, well, the Patriots are going to suck for the next 10 years and you guys are the new age Lions and the new age Jets. That's not what that means. It just means that it's the first year for Elliott Wolf, their front office general manager. It's the first year for Jerrod Mayo being a head coach. I mean, he just started coaching only back in 2019 when he came in as the Patriots linebackers coach. You have Drake Maye, who you're hoping to be your franchise quarterback moving forward. He's obviously in his rookie season. 2 rookie wide receivers, a rookie tackle. It's young. There's a lot of new players here, and that is the thing. It's going to take time for the Patriots to get better. And when you're young, when there's a lot of new, there's going to be a significant amount of growing pains from the players to the coaches to the front office. So I have the Patriots at fourth in the AFC East. Now, when I did my way too early record prediction, this was very early on in the offseason, I think like after free agency or after the draft, I said I had the Patriots winning 7 games. And that wasn't like, I just think they're going to win 7 games. I went game by game, and that's just naturally how it happened. Originally, I thought they were going to win 6. After doing my projections, I was like, they could be 7. Now, unfortunately, a lot of things have happened. The offensive line has looked worse than we projected that it was going to. You lose your best pass rusher in Matthew Judon. You lose another one of your best defensive linemen in Christian Barmore. So that obviously brings the Patriots back. Right now, I think the ceiling for this team is like 5-6 wins. Somewhere is that in that sweet spot. I mean, I think they could be as bad as only winning 3 games, but I think that they could win, 6 games potentially, right? So right now, I'm going to say they're going to win somewhere between 5 to 6 games. Again, it's not about winning here, Jake. It's not about looking all flashy. If they can literally just be the same record or just even 1 game better than last year, then I like the progression. I like where this team is going, but it's all about seeing how these young guys develop and knowing that there's going to be a future. Not just that, but if they had consistent quarterback play last year or consistent kicker play, I can literally name you 6, 7, maybe even 8 games where the Patriots should have won. They lost 6 games by like single digits, and it all came down to inconsistent kicker or inconsistent quarterback play. 2 things that the Patriots have made a priority in trying to fix. So, I do think the Patriots could be better than some teams are giving them credit for. I don't think they're going to be a 0-win team. I don't think they're going to be a 3-win team. But I'm also not saying they're going to be an 8, 9+ win team and end up making the playoffs. In terms of how I see the division ending up going for the Patriots, or not the Patriots, but the rest of the AFC East, Bills are at the top. To me, it's kind of like the New England Patriots, where I'm not saying they're the New England Patriots, but like the Patriots could not be dethroned. You could not say the Patriots would be dethroned from winning the AFC East until they actually were, because every single year they were doing it. Like you mentioned, 5 straight years at this point for the Buffalo Bills. Until somebody can actually do it, I am not going to take them off. So I got the Bills at number 1. I have the Jets at number 2. I got the Fins at 3, the Pats at 4. I don't think the AFC East is going to play as well as some people think. I've heard people saying, the Bills are going to win 12 games. The Jets are going to win 12 games. The Finns are going to win, 11 games. I don't think it's going to be that good. The AFC East is competitive, but there's a lot of question marks, and really a lot of these teams here between the Bills, the Jets, the Dolphins have taken a step back with a lot of pieces that they lost this offseason.
Yeah, and I tell you one thing, I've always done my evaluations where I usually give teams 5-6 weeks, let this puppy cook, because by that point, I know what their identity is. I know exactly how they've schemed a lot of things offensively and defensively to where it gives me a point of, oh yeah, this solidified exactly with what our earliest projections with their record is looking to be for a lot of these teams. But man, absolutely loved the insights, man. I mean, everybody from like all around in the community, man, it has been a fiery week because the fact that I'm getting all this NFL and I cannot stop digesting this stuff, man, because we've only got one more preseason week and then it's finally official from there, man. I'm excited about it. Colby, appreciate you taking the time, man. Where can people find you for everything Patriots, even around the globe?
Yeah, Jake, I appreciate you so much for having me on, man. Great talk. Always love chopping it up about football, whether it's Patriots, whether it's, any other team. I always love it. So anytime you want me on, brother, I'm always here. But you guys can find me on YouTube at Patriots Global, over 20,000 subscribers. That's where I do the bulk of my work. That's where the majority of my content comes from. You can also find me on TikTok at Patriots Global. I make Patriots related content. I make other NFL news related content. Find me on Twitter at Patriots Global 2, Instagram at Patriots Global. Find me on Bleacher Report 2 at Patriots Global. I'm also on the AFC East Roundtable representing the New England Patriots every single Wednesday. I host 2 roundtables also for Roundtable Sports. So I do a lot of stuff. I'm very, very active in this community. But if you don't really know where to find everything I just listed, just go to YouTube, type in Patriots Global, look at the description box of my recent video. All my socials will be there.
See, there you go. You make things a lot more simplified and a lot more easier, especially when you got to get everything ready for the season, man. But yeah, you guys on the roundtable, you guys have been killing it. But I've been watching many videos, and I know many of the guys. I mean, I know Rio, I know NFL Mike, but you guys have been amazing. And this is what's exciting about, this up and coming season. But appreciate you, Colby. Thanks for stopping on by, man. Enjoy the rest of the week and the weekend, and we shall see you by the time week 1 kicks off, my friend. Take care.
Yeah, you too, brother.
Absolutely. Gosh, it's getting me